Now, welcome. It's Friday. It's Bits and Bobs. Ronan Mullen here in studio. Ronan, hello.
Hi, Joe.
And Conan Doherty, hello.
Hello.
Last time three of us were together on Bits and Bobs was the 7th of April, so this is kind of a once-a-month affair.
This is the OG lineup. This is going back to basics.
Yeah. Indo Sport Podcast at independent.ie is where you can email us. Apparently we have a YouTube page somewhere.
Prospering, flourishing.
How is it doing?
It's doing really well.
Is it?
Yeah. Although I had been seeing a load of comments coming in directed at Conan, and
I call it Conan's channel.
it was negative, and I was like, what's going on here? And I realised they were all talking about Jack Conan and his decision to look over to Leocal. It was like all these stuff. I was like, I didn't
Show some leadership, Conan.
Why is Conan looking around asking? And I was like,
Oh, don't start though. I'm rugbyed out. I'm rugbyed out. Oh my God, rugbyed out. 3 rugby episodes this week. We had Stuart Barnes on this morning, so I think we might leave the rugby there.
Yeah.
Indo Sport Podcast and YouTube is where you can get us on the YouTube channel. There's no great centrepiece to today's episode, I guess, as the name allows for. So David Clifford was doing media yesterday. He said he is in for the international rules, which is very much in the offing now. 2 tests in October in Dublin, or certainly one of them in Dublin. Maybe they'll go elsewhere for the other one. I would be delighted to be part of the rules squad, he said. Clifford, now aged 26. Moving along, isn't it? Megan Campbell, Irish international, has entered the Guinness World Records for the furthest distance football has been thrown by a woman. 37.55 metres in the air. It's no surprise to us. So she there's all the video footage and she throws it in the air. The men's record is 59 metres. Michael Lewis.
Wow.
In Texas in 2019.
Still the biggest shame that Rory Delap never once played for Ireland during that Stoke.
Yeah, bizarre.
Reign. Biggest loss to Irish sport.
Arsenal had a fair few throw-ins.
They'll be signing Megan Campbell, yeah.
Yeah.
Thomas Partey was going over to take them.
Yeah. So is this, what's this about? Is this like a real not all old school is bad school? A reassessment?
Has Arteta gotten so scarred and burned and freaked out by that type of football, the low block, the launching into the box, that he just wants to become familiar with it himself and he feels happier about it?
No, I would think it's very well thought out and there must be analytics at play. Even against PSG, it was like a free kick just inside their own half, goalkeeper coming out to take it and everybody up. It was interesting.
Not to be disparaging, but that is Tony Pulis stuff. That was always an annoying thing. Playing against Stoke and West Brom, it's like once a free kick was committed there, it's like, oh, there's another minute going while they set up in the box and launch it in.
Did you see the Glenn Whelan tweet?
No.
10 minutes gone and Partey has sent 4 long throws into the box. I would love to get a few words from Mr. Wenger and get his reaction on how Arteta has reinvented the wheel. Crying, laughing emoji face.
Glenn Whelan.
He's cooking on Twitter.
Been holding that one in drafts for a few years, I think.
But maybe there was a snobbishness, just throwing out all that stuff. But actually, who wants to play against long throw-ins and your box being bombarded? I don't think, however sophisticated football gets, it will never be fun to defend a long throw-in coming into your box or a big free kick lumped up.
Maybe. And maybe he's so scared by it where he's like, this is effective. Let's turn that on other teams. But no other big team, no other elite team plays that way. You don't see them bringing their centre midfielder over to launch it into the box. It's
certain teams throw Harry Maguire up top these days. But,
so no other elite team does that.
Yeah. Xabi Alonso officially leaving Bayer Leverkusen. So the Real Madrid Xabi Alonso thing is happening. Everybody likes Xabi, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Real Madrid, more so than any other club, are like obsessed with optics. But in this case, I think there's something to it. Like, you look at the managers who have been successful there, even of late. Like, there's an argument that Ancelotti and Zidane are their most successful managers ever, or they're in the conversation certainly. And you look at that through the modern era lens. But you can see Alonso on the sideline. You know what I mean? He carries himself such a way. His football style is a certain way. Yeah, I think it's a good fit.
Yeah. Newcastle United are changing their crest. As our club grows on the global stage, the symbol that represents us needs to be able to keep pace, they say. It's a very long-winded message on their website. We love our crest, it's iconic, but we must change as the world changes. Sorry, none of it means that. It's all...
Yeah, but I don't...
Who writes this?
I like the Newcastle crest.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's
vibrant.
It's very nice. Apparently, the actual problem, when you get past all the PR stuff, is that it is, quote, too complex and too intricate for modern branding needs. So it's difficult. They say it doesn't always translate well. It's difficult to reproduce it clearly and consistently. So I guess we want to sell a lot of merch, and this is a tricky one for us to execute. They've changed it 4 times since the 50s, so it's not unprecedented. This one's been going since 1988. So they're going to have a public vote on it all. They're putting forward 4 choices and the public have to vote.
I was proffering the notion that potentially the most tattooed crest in world sport by dint of proportion of fans.
Per head.
Yeah, so like thankfully Newcastle fans give us the chance by taking off their tops in every season of the year, and you get to see that almost everyone in camera shot has a Newcastle tattoo somewhere on their person.
So how do you think they feel right now?
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
If any aspiring entrepreneur wants to move to the Newcastle region,
Tattoos.
tattoo removal,
Oh, yeah.
can make a fortune.
To be fair, there might be I was here for that crest, I'm here for the next crest. You know, you get them all.
There's ways of doing it. Obviously, Arsenal have gone down the more monochrome interpretation of their original crest. They made a huge change to their crest 15 years ago.
Pass me by.
Um,
Would you know that?
I know there was, again, you're talking about some of the stuff written there on the statement is BS. I remember Arsenal talking about this and the reasons why they couldn't use certain colours and guns. And
Your old one had there was a gold centerpiece to it, and the one they won with Adams in was that crest, and then subsequently, Jesus, that long since they won the league. I don't mean it disparagingly. It's what is it? 21 years since they won the league. 20 years.
4, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think the most recent league win might have been with the Newcastle, but their new kits have gone a bit more monochrome, and then they've also focused on the cannon. So certain jerseys just have the cannon and no
yeah.
and then United similarly with just the devil.
But is that not the way to branch out then if you're looking to market your crest across platforms? You know, could Newcastle not just take their seahorse, is it? and just use that then on shirt?
Famously the seahorse.
Yeah, without everybody see a seahorse, they'll know it's Newcastle.
I'm not sure. I've already spent more time on this than I was intending. This was meant to be a quick mention. So they're doing that. Newcastle play Chelsea at the weekend in a bid to see which of the 7 English teams will play Champions League football next year. Liverpool Arsenal in a parallel universe. We would all be very excited about that. It'd be fever pitch, but there are 4 points between City in 3rd and Aston Villa in 7th. So if that's your thing, it's all happening. The Premier League is urging clubs to allow more access to dressing rooms as well. So Sky and TNT Sports, basically, as they embark on a new 4-year deal worth £7 billion sterling, they want more bang for their buck. And so they have said, listen, this whole dressing room, inner sanctum thing is very 20th century. Yeah, can we, move along with the times? So we want access to dressing rooms. We want to be able to interview players during games, managers during games. If players are subbed, we want to be able to interview them. So the Premier League have said they're going to consult with the teams. Certain managers resistant to letting cameras into the inner sanctum. I mean, they won't decide ultimately. Apparently, it's the big 6 are pushing back because they want that footage for their own TV channels, MUTV, etc. So, but I don't really find the in-game interviews ever work. Like, they're in rugby all the time and they're always a waste of time. They sound great. It's part of that email we had in a while back about the TNT of our sports punditry. It's like, we're pitch side and you're coming over to us, and it's all, it's glittery and it's fast moving, and on paper it all sounds good and more access. But when you actually boil it down, there's very little substance to it. The rugby ones are always, they're fine, but you're like, well, you never get anything.
Yeah.
So I don't really care if this doesn't happen. And with all the behind the scenes documentaries anyway that are on Netflix and Amazon, seeing the dressing room doesn't really hold much allure anymore,
I think the dressing room, especially the Premier League, would be great.
Yeah.
I agree the in-game interviews, I don't even really like the post-match interviews sometimes. Sometimes you get a footballer who's relaxed and then we all spend the next week being like, he's a great fella, isn't he?
Jack Grealish is
James Maddison.
specialised in the art.
Because they're able to make a joke or they're able to laugh about something.
But in the main, they're like these kind of, continentally accented even-tempered types. Like even the managers now, I'm just like,
Oh, but even the English managers and players, they're all using the same lingo that's come over from the continent where they all say we're in a difficult moment. How has this spread? But I would love the changing room thing, and I was always shocked.
would you?
Yeah, even if there was no audio, like, would that be the...
It's not bad. Six Nations do a little bit at half-time. You get to see body language. Like, fine, but I mean, I won't be living and dying by it. I was like, oh God, this Premier League season, the dressing room footage.
Yeah, but you'd get managers and acting differently because of that, in a good way. Like Mourinho would be acting up knowing the camera's on him now. He'd be calling out players even more knowing the camera's on him. Imagine the like of Tim Sherwood when he was knocking around. This is like, he would love this stuff. And I could just imagine, cutting to the studio, but it's like we're all going to be quiet for a second while we hear the...
There's not a chance in hell we'll get to hear the dressing room.
Yeah, but even if you
No
saw
chance.
it, it'd be nice while they're talking over it.
Yeah. You?
Like you said, like move out of the 20th century. It's funny because it hasn't been a 21st century thing, because ITV archives and BBC archives, every now and then you'll see clips of like after the FA Cup final when that was the game that used to be shown, and it would be like two lads sitting, the interviewer in between two winning players, both drinking a glass bottle of milk, and they're just getting bandaged up, or like, someone's like wiping blood off their forehead. It's like that was what it used to be when football coverage was a lot more sparing, whereas now with like it's become a more macro endeavor, and like there's just so much of it that I don't know. And competition probably breeds that as well, where if you're going to give it to someone, you have to give it to everybody, and maybe they don't want to start going down that line. But we're reaching a nexus point with football rights in general for a whole host of reasons, but it's becoming prohibitively expensive for these broadcasters to buy these rights, and just showing the games is not going to be enough for them, considering when you look across the Atlantic and what major rights get you in the likes of the NFL and the NBA, there's no comparison. So,
well, we'll see. And of course, I should mention on that whole theme, we do have the Bonanza Europa League final that people were hoping for, Manchester United against Spurs, who both came through last night. And speaking to the dressing room, said, "From tomorrow we focus, tonight we drink." Cue pandemonium in the dressing room.
He's great crack, isn't he?
I do enjoy a video from a dressing room where it's the players like, "Oh, and you get a day off at the end."
Yeah.
Crazy. Mason Mount scored 2 goals off the bench on 62 minutes. Robbie Savage called it maybe the best half hour of the man's life.
Oh my God.
Amad Diallo and Luke Shaw came off. I mean, they were 1-0 down on the night. I mean, I was kind of... I didn't watch last night because, just I'm footballed out and rugbyed out, I'm sported out this week, and I was watching some TV.
White Lotus.
No, I've seen that though. Finished it last week. Very good again.
I finished it last week as well.
It's very good.
Excellent.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was, an eye on live score because I didn't want to have to break the news that actually we're going live to Old Trafford. But they came off and rescued the game. But it wasn't straightforward until maybe the 70-minute mark. But Ruben Amorim, effusive about Mason Mount. I'm so happy for him. He's such a quality player. He works really hard. When you see the kind of guy like Mason working hard every day, eating well, having ice baths, when you have this kind of player, you just want to help him. How low is the standard at Manchester United? I have ice baths.
You have ice baths?
I go the plunge thing in the gym.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Eating well, having ice baths, and Amorim's like that guy.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. What are the rest of them doing?
You hit the nail on the head there, Joe. He's the emblem. The guy who's missed like 90% of his Manchester United career is being held up as the pin-up.
Second highest on the wage bill as well, Mason.
Yeah.
A good deal.
I think this is instructive that we're talking about Mason Mount in some sort of redemption arc here. Like, Mason Mount didn't need a redemption until he went to United and he got dragged down. Like, he was a brilliant player. He was Mr. Southgate. He was playing for England, whatever position, whatever formation they played. He was the go-to man for Southgate. Obviously, won the Champions League with Chelsea.
I don't think was he that go-to for
key
Southgate?
players for like if they
He
played
started the final at Wembley.
Okay.
even when he went more defensive, it was like, well, Mount, you can play in the front three because I know you can get into midfield.
Yeah,
as well.
they do. To be fair, they all celebrate his quote unquote intelligence on the pitch.
Yeah.
And there were shots in the early days of Amorim trying to implement the system where it would cut to the bench, and before Amorim they'd all be looking at a certain someone who was always being spoken to, and right before Amram would gesture with his hand to go a certain way, Mason Mount would be behind him going that way. They say he knew the system from Chelsea a little bit, but does seem to be a football man, yeah. But eating well, ice bath. And Amram's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This guy, oh my God.
What did you call the third choice keeper that was there for a while when Ronaldo signed? And he was being interviewed on TalkSport and he was talking about the influence of Ronaldo already. And he said, normally, you know, well, after
we
dinner,
all get desserts. Yeah.
And he's always chocolate cake, but then Ronaldo went up and got vegetables, and none of us got the dessert. It's like, what is going on here? You're the top Premier League club.
No, I would say it's not all half as professional as we think. Amram, with his penchant for kind of marketing, I mean, he just does the work of people for them. So he's asked about the final, and he was like, the position of the coach is similar. I know Ange has one more year, and we're both struggling in our jobs. It's like, it's a match to the death. That will be good.
Yeah.
Slow bicycle race.
Yeah. We get some emails?
Yeah.
So there's nothing burning there. It's all fairly pedestrian news, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you're leaving it till later, but like the burning thing this weekend is the unbelievably exciting.
Oh, sorry, the GAA.
GAA.
Yeah. No, listen, I have emails about that. Don't worry.
Okay.
Split season.
Don't start with the split season.
Championship structure.
The split season email is good. We don't have to discuss it. How about that?
Yeah, but it was just funny how we segued from exciting GAA weekend to...
No, but I felt obliged.
And passes?
Because Conan and Ronan in County Dublin emailed in. So he said, hello everyone, I've loved listening to the podcast since it began last year. Daily staple at this stage. As I was on the journey home from working down the country, I was listening to the GAA podcast with Colin Keys and Martin Breheny. Now don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed their chat and debate on the topics of the week. However, at one stage I found myself resisting the urge to scream at the car speaker in response to some of their comments and views about the split season. I have played adult club football in Dublin for the past 17 years, majority in divisions 1 to 3. I've taken it seriously at all times. Training, S&C, diet, nutrition, recovery. Jeez, he's a Mason Mount type. Admittedly, I've dropped down to the junior team this year. Mid-30s, time waits for no man. I can't explain just how positive an impact the split season has had on my life. Ever since its introduction, I've received a fixture list in January that I can trust and rely upon. Holidays can be booked with confidence. You can commit to things with your non-football playing mates. Weekends away with partners, wives, girlfriends organised without the fear of the last minute fixture change. The championship, which for us is our most important competition of the season, had been squeezed into October, which meant very little time between games being fixed on short notice, sometimes days' notice for what were the biggest games for the club player that year. Colm and Martin both joked and told tales of club championship finals being played in November, December. They even had a chuckle at one which was played on St. Stephen's Day. This was at the point which I found myself arguing out loud with myself in the car. Football and hurling being played at that time of year is far from ideal. I appreciate club football is not the top table of the GAA tree, but club football is the lifeblood. I just thought it might be good to get a club player's perspective. In fairness to you, Joe, you always do make the point that the split season is widely supported by players. It's important that message is not lost. I find the majority of the media are more interested in the nostalgia of the third Sunday in September. And although I do appreciate it has impacted their roles and possibly left a void in the autumn for them, there's a bigger GAA picture at play here, and it's important it's not forgotten. Long live the split season. Love the pod. Keep up the work. Connor, Donabate, County Dublin. Happy to read that out. It's a fair point.
I remember being at a qualifier match a few years back. Derry were playing Cavan in Celtic Park. It was a cracker game. It went to extra time, and we were obviously all supporting Derry. I was there with club mates, and Derry lost. And I remember immediately at full time, all of us saying, well, at least we know we're playing on Sunday now.
Yeah.
That's the way it was. And we deducted that this was better, that your county was out, because now we have got a bit of clarity on when our schedule is.
Yeah. So life at Skerries now, it's all laid out, nicely planned in advance, is it? Yeah. It's
because the other thing was, like, even if you went out in June, which, you know, a lot of counties did back in the day, like, you were still working back from the provincial championships.
Of course.
So Armagh were never going to jump into their Armagh championship in June because the championship wasn't starting until October.
There's no value in playing your county championship off if you're waiting 4 months for provincials. Yeah.
So you lost more players in the summer, and
look, there's no doubt I don't like the condensed aspect of this.
Yeah.
You know, from as a viewer, but I do respect the fact that we're talking about the 99% here. There is something very admirable about the GAA in that, that they've prioritised the majority here.
Yeah, and I've had to do some work myself to get. Even though I was a club player when I came in, I used to love the romance of the autumn club championship. That felt like club championship. It was crisp in there. It was cold. And I liked the longer county season as well. I like the third Sunday September stuff like that. But I can see that this is obviously better. And one of the first things I always remember an old coach saying to me when I was a young player, it was GAA was never designed to be a spectator sport. And that's obviously what the GAA have done here to prioritise the club player.
Interesting. Kieran from Donegal, I just want to pick up what you discussed in bits and bobs. Leinster not being likeable. This was the kind of schadenfreude around Leinster. They remind me of the Dublin team of the 90s, 2000s. That Dublin team were hated by 31.5 counties and laughed at every time they lost. Think Kieran Whelan leading the charge up the hill against Mayo. They were the closest thing there was to the English football team. Pat Gilroy and Jim Gavin sorted all that out for them, and they became almost begrudgingly likeable. Enjoy the crack, Kieran from Donegal. Were the Dubs 6 in a row era? Were the Dubs of the 2010s liked by the country?
I think the one thing Irish sports fans hate and Irish people maybe hate is people having ideas above their station or delusions of grandeur, and perhaps there was a sense, if you're talking more so of the Dublin team between 95 and Cluxton's free against Kerry, that they perhaps, and the Mill on the Hill is an example where they carried themselves with a we deserve to be here even though they hadn't actually done it. I think there was, and maybe not even so grudging respect of the 6 in a row team. That was my sense of the players on the pitch. We've had the conversation ad nauseum over the years about how people perceive that the admin of the game was leveraging in Dublin's favour, and that's potentially a different conversation. But I think the Dublin team that took the field had won the respect of football watchers. That was my sense anyway.
Likeable. Respect,
Likeable
yes.
in what way? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any See, we didn't have the access to these players that we do now. We didn't really get to know any of the Dublin players when they were doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
It's because they dug deep. A lot of their victories, or in their big games anyway, they actually were sent to the well, and they were able to drill down and find something. Like when they were put up against it, it wasn't just the class and everything else that went in their favour. They actually had to find someone inside, and they did that. So it was hard to not respect. And I even think, and I know Jim Gavin say gets criticised, and especially his reaction to the 3 in a row or 4 in a row where he just didn't celebrate at all, took the earpiece off.
Yeah,
that's annoying. But I actually think a lot of the country like that as well. It's like, well, he's not rubbing it in their face, and we like, as Ronan said, he sort of touching on it there, we like our GAA people to, just get on with it and not get carried away. And they were the sort of epitome.
No, I found myself quite liking them.
but it's funny. But I remember having those conversations, Joe, with you, and it was like,
But don't quote me. I
No,
changed
but-
my mind routinely.
no, but it was like, remember when Dublin had won 4th in a row, and it's like, I remember doing a Sunday conversation, and Matt Williams was on, and he was almost giving the outsider's perspective on this, how can you stop this period of dominance, and kind of framing it through the prism of someone who wouldn't be so au fait with the GA structure. You're like, yeah, this is going to be the algorithmic output of what the Dublin machine is producing. But events of the last couple of weeks have proven that was actually a special generation of players.
Yeah.
This is not.
Thank God, by the way. I was really worried during that time we would be looking at 6 to 8 Dublin All-Irelands every decade forevermore.
There was definitely a sense then that, this conveyor belt is never going to stop. It's gone too far.
Yeah.
The classic split Dublin in two thing. Whereas with the fullness of time, we can actually say that was a special group.
And they played a great brand of football as well. It wasn't like a dull, monotonous, metronomic winning machine. I mean, as you said, Conan, these were kind of wild encounters with Mayo. Wild. So you kind of had to admire the resolve of them.
And they had lost to Kerry in 2019.
Yeah.
They lost. I don't know how they won that match. They drew it, and then they won it in the next match.
And
So probably as likeable as a team with total dominance could hope to be, really.
Is it fair to say, just to bring that Leinster parallel to its ultimate conclusion then, that Dublin went into those games quote unquote undercut because they were coming through a weak Leinster, often got a fairly favourable quarter-final, so they were into the semi-final before they played a meaningful game.
Oh, look, Leinster.
And they always won the acid test.
But Leinster,
That's what I'm saying. But Dublin won those games.
Yeah.
And Leinster haven't.
yeah.
There was definitely a performative nature to era before that, 95 to 2010.
Ah, hype machine.
Oh, I remember.
Hype machine.
They played Derry and Clonus, and Tommy Carr got them off the bus and walked them all up this hill.
They were more fun.
I'd actually
Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to do a poll when Stephen Tuxton was stepping up to take that free against Kerry. If you could just hit a button,
Yeah.
who wanted that to go over?
Everybody
I did,
is.
yeah.
Do you think so? Yeah,
I definitely did.
I think I did as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wonder now.
That was Kerry. That was like Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And then,
But if the people knew what they were going to create,
I know. Yeah.
That's such an interesting question.
an Oppenheimer moment.
Yeah. Surely there's a way the TV, as we move into, there should be like a TV poll right now on the screen as Cluxton's about to hit the free.
Yeah.
Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and get instant, do we want him to get it?
Before I left Virgin, actually, that's one thing we did get in. Like, you have it now still during the rugby. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
match
No,
pool.
I want in-game.
Yeah.
Like over certain things.
I loved something the GA people, non-GA people probably think, oh Jesus, but do you remember Tomas O'Shea hands Cluxton the ball?
Yeah.
You're like, that's class though. That is class. It's one of the great pictures.
It
Did
is.
he not just kick the ball away then and run down the tunnel?
I
think that's what happened.
He kept it, did he?
No, I think he kicked it into the stand and ran down the tunnel.
Just something I'd like to bring up on the day the Lions squad is announced. Why should I care? We won't get too into this. Why do the Irish players and media hold it up to such high prestige? I'm a big sports fan. Probably not a sport out there I don't have some level of interest in, but this Lions thing, I can't get my head around why it's so widely talked about in Ireland. I mean, I'll finish. It just feels like it's a British thing. Let's go back to the colonies and try and flex. All it does for Ireland is get our players injured. I love the pod. Keep the good work. Yeah. Listen, you like what you like. It's fine. Of course, it has prestige because you're making like a representative side of
Yeah.
4 nations. So I mean, it's a serious accolade. The most damaging thing for me is that the Southern Hemisphere just ain't what it used to be. Okay, New Zealand, South Africa, yeah, but like, I don't know. England, Ireland have all won there now. It's not like, we need to group together to go and beat them. That's when it was at its kind of woof for me.
Yeah. Could they not do a Southern Hemisphere Lions?
And take on one of us. Yeah. Oh, like Lions v Lions?
Yeah.
That would be
Tigers.
good, wouldn't it?
Southern
Jesus.
Hemisphere Tigers v British Lions.
I'd watch now.
But didn't they have that? But it was like a charity game.
Yeah, but
I remember a one-off where David Humphries was the out half for this hemisphere against the other hemisphere, but didn't get the same billing.
But
That'd be
that feels more Everesty. It's just like they've won in Australia.
Yeah.
I know Stuart Barnes, you can listen to him this morning, he's laying out why the Lions aren't necessarily raging hot favourites, but it won't feel like a huge thing if they win. There's only kind of downside for Andy Farrell here if like this blows up. It's like it's not great. Anyway, listen, too much rugby. Too much rugby.
I do love it though, for what it's
Yeah.
worth. Yeah, like the 05 Lions tour, ironically, was probably around fever pitch, or certainly the kickoff point of my interest in rugby. Because I was so impressionable at that age. I was like, oh, this is class. And the way Will Greenwood wouldn't lie to me about how good this is. in fairness, he was actually playing in that, scoring in that Lions. Who would have been on? Scott Quinnell.
Well, but certainly from 09 on, Quinnell and Greenwood. I mean, jeez.
But then 05 was, like, the production was brilliant. The O'Driscoll thing took off in a big way.
Yeah.
He did a really good book around that, actually, I remember reading. And then the 09 Lions tour is still
That's the
among
one.
the best
That's the one.
sporting things
That
that
is-
I've ever seen.
Yeah, 09's the one.
Like how many red cards do you think would have been in that second test if that was played now?
Listen, I think would Schalke have got one? Yeah, that's the one. I think you need one like that to get under your skin.
Yeah.
Because if I'd come along in 13,
Because then the 13 one is a mirror of this Australian tour where you're like, this is kind of
yeah, they should win.
to jeopardy. And then 17 had its own thing because trying to win in Eden Park. And
That was good.
That was a
17
real tit for tat. And
yeah.
Sonny Bill Williams was he the first or second New Zealand player in history to get a red card? Like,
Second, John Kirwan, didn't he?
Yeah.
But the one in South Africa in 21 has killed the Lions for me.
that was chronic.
Like-
But that was COVID.
That's no one's fault. It's COVID. But like considering, I thought 09's so good that I thought 20 as it was meant to, or 21.
21.
Yeah, as it was meant to be, was going to be epic. And actually, the first test, that was where the first half went on for like 58 minutes. The South Africans were undercooked, so they walked to every line out. They walked to every scrum to give their forwards a chance to get going again. The referee and stuff, the no credit. It was awful.
It was also Warren Gatlin fatigue, and I like Gatland as a person and respect him as a coach, but that was his 4th tour in a row, like 3rd as head coach. You're like, okay, like we've seen this. Like, give me something else. Like,
yeah. No, because it is show
let
business.
Gregor Townsend have a go at it and throw the ball around.
You're right. It is meant to be fantasy rugby. It's meant to be fun. Like
Yeah.
you can't lose sight of that as well, as anachronistic as it is. It needs to have a bit of ooh.
Like,
You know.
there was a picture yesterday, the lads were being interviewed together, Jamie Roberts and Brian O'Driscoll, and it just takes you back. Oh, that was just a pairing made in heaven.
Yeah, that's what you want. Because actually, I'm a little bit. I know they seem to be the best pairing. The two Scottish centres maybe going to play together. But I'm like,
Seen them play.
no, give me Bundy and Hugh Jones, and let's see what happens. It's that kind of the whole point is to see unusual combinations.
Give me Michael Murphy and Conor McManus up top
There you
together.
go.
Well, we can move off it now, but we were chatting about it. I in many ways, I think when Sexton was having that tough time in 2017, his pairing with Owen Farrell revitalised him.
Amazing.
I'd love to chat to him about that, actually. I think you could see it in his body language that he was freed up. He was doing stuff he hadn't done before. He was playing with someone on the same wavelength as him. And not to say he didn't have that in Ireland, but it was just, they'll never play together again, or have ever played before.
Well, this one for me needs to be a good one. I'm almost lost whatever 09 gave me was
Yeah.
almost fully sucked out of me by 21. So this has to be a good one for me.
That's a great point, though. You need one of them that gotten under your skin.
Actually, you fall in love with a sport as a kid. It's the Jesuits, I mean, you show me the boy, I'll give you the man. It's
Yeah.
just there's something. We only have a limited capacity for things that we can get into, I think.
Yeah, and I will stay on topic, but we were just talking earlier about the 04 and 06 international rules games where you read out, David Clifford says thumbs up to the international rules. I'm sure some people listening were like, who cares?
Yeah.
But we care because those games
I'm
get
never,
under our skin.
I'm never having the whole, who cares about the international rules anyway. If you do it right, people cared about it at one point.
Same with the Lions.
You'll make them care about it again. You just have to do it correctly.
With fights, do you mean?
No, like...
All I care about is the fights.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're not the target audience. Then.
Sorry. That's what got me.
You hate to see it.
No, yeah.
Tut, tut, tut.
Yeah. We don't want to be talking about this.
Sorry, forgive me. What was the name of the Australian commentator? Did we remember?
He was brilliant.
Eddie.
Put Marty Morrissey to shame.
That second test where it was all the unsavoury stuff was happening before the ball was thrown in, and Marty Morris was like, "Oh, you hate to see that." And
Let's finish. We'll finish bits and bobs with this. It's one of my favorite clips.
But it's like you hate to see this game. And before Marty's even finished the sentence, it's like, oh, they get stuck in. They're setting the tone.
It's so
They're
good.
setting the tone.
We'll stick it on the end of this if you haven't heard it. It's amazing because Marty's doing the whole and the team today is your man's amazing. We said we were going to get him on the show.
Yeah, Colin was saying that earlier.
Well, let's get him if it's happening in October. Let's finish with this. Gents, as a reasonably proud Carlow man, provincial finals have not really been a staple of my life. This year, prompted in part by the new rules and improved fare on offer, I decided to rope my father and brother into an Eamon Sweeney-esque expedition around the country to the 4 proud provinces of Ireland. Hat tip Phil Coulter. Last weekend we took in the Connacht final. Glorious sunshine, 99s, ham sandwiches, flasks of tea. All the trinkets and paraphernalia were indulged, and a brilliant game to boot. This weekend I will be at Croke Park on Sunday, and I did hear you giving out about the TV schedule, which is fair. On Saturday I can also attend the main event in my book. My first trip to Clonus, my first trip to an Ulster football final. In fact, it's probably my first trip to County Monaghan. I have high hopes. I didn't go to the Munster football final before you ask. So it's actually just the 3 proud provinces of Ireland, but there's always next year. Carlow Abu, Shane. Oof, I've never been Shane. I need to do something like this, having worked many Sundays for the last decade. I haven't got to a lot of these. Been to Leinster football final, Connacht and Munster. Oh, so I've been to a good few of them over the years. But I've never been to an Ulster football final match, let alone a final.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. So this Clonus thing, I hear of Clonus all the time. I have no sense of Clonus. I've no sense of... Is Clonus the one where it's a big bowl, it's a big drop down? Is that Clonus? No.
Well, there's also Breffni Park, which has more distinct, but this one, as me and Conor were talking about earlier, there's a series of hills, so you're up and down, but the church overlooks it.
Small. Clonus is small.
Well, 30,000-ish capacity, depending on health and safety regulations.
The town.
The town is small, yeah. And
the town is an Ulster Championship town. That's the only reason it's there. It's like a derelict town that comes to life every time these Ulster Championship games happen.
Is derelict the right word to use?
Well, derelict in the sense that a lot of the shop fronts are closed, like, and you won't be surprised to hear the pubs do a roaring trade when the games are on. But like the Diamond and the Square and the streets around, yeah, like it's a platform for the football.
Let's go with Sleepy Town.
Sleepy Town. Yeah, no, but like in terms of utopian sporting events, I think it is amazing. Like there's just something in the air there. It's the backdrop, and I was saying to Conan earlier, I don't know if it's trite or even like makes sense, but something about the vibrancy of Armagh and Donegal, like the orange and the yellow, and it'll be the same in Croke Park on Sunday with the like red and green. Like it's I don't know, it's uniquely the way it's interspersed as well. I just think that the magic of that is hard to find.
Yeah, it is the fact that you wouldn't be there. Like I never would have gone to Clones but for a game. It's just small town in West Monaghan that's not a lot's happening, and a lot of the shops are closed. And the setup for it as well, when you come in over the top of the hill, you look down and you can see all the fans the whole way down. Just before you even get to the stadium, just the town itself, you look down the hill, down to the Cretan Hotel where everyone just stands outside chatting, and it goes back up the hill to the stadium.
Is this a type of scenario where you have to park 5 miles outside the town?
Exactly. But
I hate that.
no, this is the beauty of Clones.
I hate that.
You have to surrender to Clones, alright? Nobody's getting out of there quickly.
No,
So
Jesus, stop.
once you're going, you have to accept that you're there.
No.
And you better make fairly steadfast arrangements with whoever you're going with, because you're not getting any phone signal before you get back out of
It's
the
like
ground.
Augusta. Leave your phone aside, and where nobody's going in a hurry. We're all just going to enjoy it after the game. Just chat to somebody, go to the chip van, stand outside the Cretan Hotel. Like we're all here for the next few hours, and
And I don't want to rain in Shane's Parade. What if it's raining? That doesn't sound fun.
I actually 2002 Ireland were playing Spain in the second round of the World Cup. Went to penalties, and I had to miss the penalty shootout because Derry were playing Donegal. And I walk up that hill to Clones, and it was pissing down, and we were sitting under an umbrella watching Derry get hammered by Donegal.
Maybe it's different types of people. That just doesn't float my boat. The crowds, the pressed in, the parking your car outside, having to walk, the slowness of it all. It's just we're built differently. That, and I'm probably in the wrong, but like that versus my couch, several cups of tea, regular toilet breaks.
It's interesting. Like, I love watching sport on TV, and games in Clones is always the one that I'm like, wish I was there.
All right, okay.
It's never the same, because I just know it so vividly. I have all the memories, even the bad days. They're special, and I want to be there. And I want to be walking back down the hill. I want to get a chipper in one of the vans, and like the parking your car, either you throw it into a field and you're not getting out of the field for a couple of hours then because there's only one gate, or you park it 5 miles down the road, and you can look at it more deeply. I remember thinking about it during Brexit, and you park your car in Tyrone and you have to walk over the border into Monaghan, into Clones. This is if you're coming from the Derry side, obviously, but even when you're coming from the Derry side, you go through Omagh and then you turn off towards a little village called Fintona, and you're going up over these rolling hills, and you would be convinced that you're lost if only it wasn't for the stream of cars heading in one direction.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Flags going out, and then you whip into Donegal, back into Tyrone again, and it's like if there was a hard border here, like this would all be gone. So even I remember when they were talking that at the time during Brexit, it's like something as simple as this, the magic would be lost because you wouldn't be going into Donegal and back in. You wouldn't park a car in Tyrone and walk over the border. It was that sort of Irishness then as well. Like that day out in Clones was that quintessential for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and like, have you seen The Butcher Boy or read The Butcher Boy?
Oh God, but like not since '97 when it came out.
So like Pat McCabe is from there,
Yeah.
and obviously Barry McGuigan is from there. So like it's punched above its weight as a little town. It's
No pun intended.
well, that's true. I actually didn't mean that for once. My wry wordplay, but yeah, I don't know. It is a mad one because I haven't been to so many games there and finals there, and Armagh are like the All Ireland champions, and I'm going there tomorrow. And in some ways, winning Ulster is bigger for this county and team. There's just something about it that will feel like a more not maybe more special, but special in a different kind of way. Winning there.
Is that just because it's Jim McGuinness is Donegal though, who Kieran McGeeney hasn't beaten Jim McGuinness yet as a manager?
Yeah, like it's I think the last time the provincial champions took on the All Ireland champions was Cork and Kerry in 2011.
Oh.
And Yeah, it's not a matchup you see where one of them has the upper hand in Ireland, but the other has the upper hand in Ulster. So I think the two games are going to be class.
Yeah, it's a great weekend. It really is.
Not to mention the hurling.
Yes, I know. Well, Shane on his Eamon Sweeney-esque expedition. That sounds like a good way to spend a few weeks. Enjoy. I think we're done, fellas. That is
Eddie Maguire is the name of the Australian commentator.
Eddie Maguire. Okay. Well, that's the way to finish. So we'll see you next week. We'll do GAA on Monday for sure.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, we'll see. Okay. Conan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ronan, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
You hate to see it.
It's very late in Australia, but we're delighted to have you here. As you can see, we're on the 7th floor of the Hogan stand.
It's on already! There's a fight breaking out already! It's on before the game! Oh, have a look at this! Dean Solomon into McDonald! It's on already at Kirkpark before we even start! Well, we expected the fireworks to begin, and straight away it's on! McDonald's been targeted by Solomon, and an all-in brawl started here on the 45! Already it started. Spineless, gutless is what the Australians have been called all week. And they've come out ready to go, and it's on before the game has started. What might be late in Australia, but they're all up ready to go now.